What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We got the Venom The Last Dance final trailer today, and it really ties into a lot of rumors that we've been hearing about Spider-Man and Venom going to the MCU. They have officially revealed Knull, the symbiote creator, as the main villain of this final Venom film. They have been talking about how this is the end, this is the last dance. Even in the trailer, it says this is the epic conclusion to all of it for Venom. However, there are a lot of things in here that do lead me to believe that the ending that we are going to get, possibly at the very end or in a post-credit scene, is Venom going to the main sacred timeline in the 616 universe. We already know that before Spider-Man No Way Home, before they got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they were looking at Venom to be a big crossover with Tom Hollands Spiderman, and as it turns out, that is seemingly the biggest reason why they kind of scrapped the idea for the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene where Venom went to the MCU, but then in Spider-Man No Way Home, they kind of erased that scene, sending him back to the SPUMC, the Sony Spider-Man universe of Marvel characters, which might be coming to an end now, at least kind of temporarily. But once they were able to get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire for Spider-Man No Way Home, they decided to kind of go against that big Venom crossover and just simply leave it at the Spider-Man crossover. So that was another big reason why they sort of undid the Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene with the post-credit scene for Spider-Man No Way Home, sending Venom and Eddie back to their normal universe. However, I do think they are going back to the Venom Spider-Man crossover, perhaps saving it for Secret Wars. But in this trailer, two really big things happen. One is, of course, we are introduced to Knull, the symbiote creator. And two is that it's made very clear. And two is that Knull is after Venom specifically, and Earth is not safe as long as Eddie and Venom are there. And this could lead to both of them going to the MCU. And there are in fact a lot of connections here with the MCU, really, if some of these theories that we have about Venom are correct. For example, a lot of people think that Venom could actually be the All Black and could be the first symbiote ever spawned. In the comics, Knull, using his firstborn symbiote, creates the All Black Necro Sword. And we have actually seen this sword before in Thor: Love and Thunder. It is used by Gore the God Butcher, and that is actually how it goes down in the comics. Knull creates the All Black Necro Sword, and he uses it to decapitate a Celestial, and that is the head that we see in Nowhere. In the comics, Knull is the one responsible for doing that. And while we could not exactly get Knull in Thor: Love and Thunder because of the Sony Spider-Man Venom Knull rights issues, that is the actual history of how the All Black Necro Sword, the God Killer Sword, comes into play in the comics. And going back to why Knull would be seeking out Venom, well, that is because he could be the very first symbiote. And my theory is that perhaps the Necro Sword has been somehow destroyed, and Knull wants to create another one, and he wants to do it via his first symbiote, Venom. This could also explain why all of the other symbiotes are running from Knull. Perhaps Knull has been trying to create a Necro Sword out of other symbiotes but hasn't been able to because he needs that very first symbiote. He needs Venom, and that is specifically why he could be going after Venom. You see, in the comics, when Knull uses Venom to create the Necro Sword, he also uses cosmic energies from a dead Celestial's head. And he didn't know this at the time, but it was actually linked to that dead Celestial even after he created it. Eventually that connection was severed and the sword became a lot weaker. And the story obviously won't be the same with Venom, but they could do somewhat of a similar story linking the sword to the first symbiote which was used to create it. That would mean that Knull would specifically need Venom to recreate the sword. And that is why out of all of the other symbiotes that are out there, Knull is specifically looking for Venom. And that also leads me to believe how Venom might get to the MCU. It's obvious that Knull is going to continue to search for Venom, and the Earth is going to be in jeopardy as long as Venom and Eddie are there. And I don't think that they're going to die. I don't think that Venom's going to die. I don't think that Eddie's going to die. So how do you save the Earth without really getting rid of yourself? Because they're just teasing it a little bit too much for them to actually die. Plus, we have heard that Venom is supposed to, even though this is his last Venom film, Tom Hardy is still set to play Venom in other properties. Now, Sony doesn't really have a plan for the Spider-Man universe right now, so a lot of people believe that Venom will end up in the MCU, which is what I believe, because I don't believe that he's going to die. But I also don't really see a way that Venom and Eddie could possibly defeat Knull. And I'm actually not even sure if Knull is going to physically fight Venom. We know that he sends the xenophage after Venom, so we're not sure if Knull is actually going to physically fight Venom, but what remains is the threat that Knull could technically destroy the Earth. He is that powerful. So I think ultimately at the end of this film, Venom and Eddie are going to realize they can't defeat Knull, and they can't defeat an army of xenophages, because we see through the hive mind and we see where Knull is at, that there are a lot of xenophages, and we see, of course, that Knull can see everything through the hive mind and could probably even command the other symbiotes to go up against Venom. So it seems like Venom and Eddie are in a situation to where it's really hard to win, and the only way they really could probably win and protect Earth is if they leave. And that could be the plan, to finally get Venom to the 616 sacred timeline. That way, one, we finally get that Venom Spider-Man crossover that we've been waiting for a really long time. And two, we can finally get Tom Holland with the Venom symbiote, which we know Marvel Studios wants to do in Secret Wars. Based off of what we heard for at least the original plan before Robert Downey Jr. came in as Doom and everything started to change, the original plan was for Tom Hollands Spider-Man to actually use the Venom symbiote suit for the first time in Avengers Secret Wars. That way it was like the comics, because in Secret Wars, that was the first time he used the black suit. It was later on kind of retconned to be the Venom symbiote. So that was really the first time he ever bonded with the symbiote. And if you caught our video that we did about Venom and about Spider-Man a couple of days ago, you probably know that there have been quite a bit of rumors going around recently about Venom finally making his way over to the MCU. Again, they were supposed to do that in Spider-Man No Way Home, but then they got Andrew Garfield and Tobey to come back, and that was kind of scrapped. But Sony has always wanted the Venom Spider-Man interaction. In fact, we know that Sony wanted Tom Holland's Peter Parker to be in the first Venom film, but Marvel Studios said no, they didn't want people to confuse the universes. Well, now we're in the multiverse, so anything is possible, and jumping between universes is kind of a big thing now. But also, it's not as confusing. Plus, Tom Hardy is now done. This is supposed to be the end for Venom in the Sony universe. So him jumping over to the MCU is very, very different at this point in time and is quite doable. Plus, not to mention, it is Venom going to the main MCU, not Spider-Man going to the Sony universe. So Marvel's most likely okay with this, and Sony's most likely okay with this, because Venom is, again, supposed to be done after this film. They're not really losing anything. In fact, they'll make money off of this, which is something they need, because their other Spider-Man related movies aren't doing too hot. So it could be that everything is kind of pointing to a final payoff for those post-credit scenes that we got for Let There Be Carnage and Spider-Man No Way Home, and for Venom to take a place in the MCU in Secret Wars, because the plan in the MCU is still for Tom Holland's Peter Parker to get the symbiote at some point in time. And considering how it looks like Venom has to go away in Venom The Last Dance in order to save their world, it would make sense that they would jump over to the MCU, to the 616 sacred timeline, especially since they know about it now. They were there before. So the thought might come into their head, we have to leave, but they can't exactly just go into space and leave Earth. Yes, Venom could keep Eddie alive, but for how long? In a weird way, the logical solution, without the two of them dying, would be for them to go to another universe. And since they were just in another universe, since they were just in another very specific universe talking to the bartender about the Avengers and Spider-Man, it would make sense that that is the first thing that could come to mind. Them going to the universe they just got back from, because remember, in the beginning of this movie, it's going to pick up from where the last post-credit scene took off. In fact, we already know that Eddie is going to be in the same clothes that he was in for that post-credit scene in Spider-Man No Way Home. So it'll be really fresh in their minds, that other universe. It's not something they'll just forget about. And when they're looking for a solution to saving Earth and getting away from Knull, going somewhere to where Knull can't possibly find them, that's a really good option for them. However, there is a problem, the hive mind. So in theory, Knull would know they went to a different universe, but perhaps that is what they want. Perhaps Knull is actually meant to be a part of the MCU at some point in time. Because let's be honest, right now we know Sony doesn't really have a plan. So perhaps they are finally thinking logically, thinking that they can make some money off the MCU by letting them use some characters. Will this actually play off? Who knows? Who knows what the future of Knull holds? Maybe he does go to the MCU, or maybe Sony has something planned. But right now, the most logical thing for them to do in Venom The Last Dance is to flee their universe in order to save their Earth. Because since we've heard that Tom Hardy isn't done with Venom, they're done with Venom movies, but he's not done with Venom, he obviously isn't going to die. Eddie Brock or Venom won't die, because Eddie Brock without Venom is just a man. So Eddie and Venom need to survive, and the best way to do that is to go to the MCU, and that sets up a lot for the future of Spider-Man in the MCU as well. Plus it gets Tom Hardy's Venom in Secret Wars. This is kind of some rumors that we've been hearing. It's obviously not official in any way, and take it with a grain of salt. However, it does make the most sense at this point in time. But go ahead, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you think we'll finally see Venom and Eddie go to the 616 universe and remain there in Venom The Last Dance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on Venom, the Sony Spider-Man universe in whatever state it may be in right now, and of course, the MCU. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.